Welcome to BridgingTheGeekdoms. I'm your host, Robert Slavinsky, and today is definitely going to be an interesting show. Hopefully you are someone who's able to, jump on and watch along live. If not, that's all right. Make sure you leave your comments down below, but let's get started here. Now, the big news, I was going to cover my anticipated movies of 2022, as well as do a little review of The Matrix Resurrection, but this past weekend there was some big news, or it really wasn't even news, but a big controversy came about this past weekend in regards to the DCEU, which has been, to many, probably the most poorly run franchise in all of film right now. And, well, let's kind of get into it here, because it really stems from Grace Randolph. Now, if you don't know who Grace Randolph is, she is what the people call a scooper when it comes to the film industry, especially with pop culture films such as superhero movies, comic book films, and all that jazz. She does other things as well, but people really go to her and flock to her for information when it comes to superhero films. Now, this information that was dropped this past weekend isn't anything new. This is information that came out quite a while ago. So let's take a look here, and real quick, Nicotina Show, let's go. Thanks so much for stopping by, buddy. He actually has a show coming up very soon, so make sure you check out his show later tonight. All right, so let's get into this here. So Grace Randolph tweets this. As I've told you with update, The Flash is Batfleck's final appearance, and there'll be old footage of Cavill used on the TV. There will be a new Justice League formed. Supergirl is new Superman. Keaton, working with Black Canary, picks Batgirl as new Batman. This is new DC. Let's be open-minded and give it a fair shot. And that's very interesting, all of that there, because people seem to feel that, one, they're making out like this is news. And it really isn't. This is information that has been known and talked about by many scoopers and many people within this fandom for the better part of a year now. But for some reason, this past weekend, everybody kind of got up in arms about it. And I think the thing that's scaring people the most, I'm going to pull this up again, is Batfleck's final appearance. That's one thing that people are really not happy about, as well as Supergirl is new Superman. Now, for those of you who follow me, watch my show, what have you, I have been trying to make sure everybody understands that this Flash movie is going to be reestablishing the DCEU. Michael Keaton is going to be the DCEU Bruce Wayne moving forward. And I want to touch on that first, because Ben Affleck, he's, for lack of a better term, done with the role. Unless, and there is a little caveat there, unless Snyder gives him a call. Because we know if Snyder were to call him up and say, hey, let's get this shit done, Affleck would be there for him. But in a large franchise, in multiple films, setting up a new Bat family, and this, I mean, who knows what they have Keaton for, but it could be 5, 6, 7, 8 films down the line. And Affleck, we know, doesn't want to do that. If anything, he's going to go finish Snyder's vision for the Snyderverse, possibly do a Batfleck series or film, and be done. At most, you're looking at roughly 3 films, give or take, depending if it's series or movies. So for Affleck, you take a look, and being part of a big franchise like the DCEU right now doesn't make sense. So DC had to do something. They had to find a way to bring in a Batman or a Bruce Wayne. And they believe doing this is going to do multiple things, such as, one, bringing an audience who are fans of Keaton. It was kind of, I think, in their eyes, bringing Keaton in was a win situation for them, because Keaton is probably the most beloved, besides Affleck, is the most beloved Batman that has ever donned the cape and cowl. People love him. People have always wanted to see more from him. So the fact that they went and got him, that is a big reason, is because they were like, look, if we can't have Affleck, let's get the second best. And that's kind of what they did there. So we have that. The other part I want to touch on specifically right now is Supergirl is new Superman. Again, now people are taking what Grace Randolph is saying right here. And we do know that she can be wrong from time to time, sometimes more often than not, it appears. But if you're going to take her word on this right here, you also have to remember what she was saying just months back, that Henry Cavill is a big reason why Warner Brothers is not continuing with Henry Cavill. I'm not sitting here saying that is fact or true, but I am saying that sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. Henry Cavill is a passionate guy. He loves being Superman. He loves the world. But he has a vision. He has an idea for his character. And he also wants to get paid. He also wants to make sure that he's properly compensated for being essentially the symbol of the DCEU. And it seems like when there were negotiations going on over the last couple years, Warner Brothers and he were butting heads, and things did not go as they wanted. Whether that's right or wrong, whether that's true or not, unfortunately, we don't really know. But if you're going to believe this from Grace Randolph, then you may want to lean a little more towards believing what she has been saying about Henry Cavill as well, which is that he is the reason why he is not Superman right now, or possibly in the near future. So let's go with that. So they had to find a way to establish a Superman type of character. If that's the case, why not go with Supergirl? And we do know the state of the world, the political correctness of the world, let's say. They are more than willing and more than excited, these Hollywood types right now, to make sure that women get their due and the LGBTQ and everything like that. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but what I'm saying is it wouldn't be surprising if that was their thought process here. That, okay, if we can't have Henry Cavill, let's bring in Supergirl. Instead of recasting, because people are going to get mad if we recast Henry Cavill, let's not recast Henry Cavill, let's bring in Supergirl. That also doesn't mean that there is not that it's not possible for him to return. At least where we sit now, from what we know, we have no idea what this movie is. At least on main plot and story beats. It very well could be that he's off world and she's there, or he disappears, or who knows right now. We don't know for sure. But let's take a look at it again. A new Justice League is formed. Now, this is an interesting one because people seem to forget, and I have to give credit to Taylor Murphy over at the Culture Nerd, because he discussed this a number of months ago. He discussed this. And when he talked about it, he explained that there will be a new league. Taylor specified and explained that there would be a new league when all was said and done with this movie. Hunter Iggy, what do you have to say, buddy? Grace Randolph is using old news article that is not true anymore, and she's only using it for clicks and links. All right, Hunter. Yes and no. Yes and no. Because this isn't the first time I've heard what she's saying. And Hunter, if you go back through my catalog of shows, even follow me on Twitter, a lot of what she's saying here is stuff that I've been talking about and have heard from other people over the last year and have discussed. Yes, it is old news, and that's kind of why I'm talking about it right now, because I want to make sure people understand that, one, this is old news, but I also want people to realize and understand what is going on and why this is going the way it's going. But thanks for the comment, Iggy. Hopefully you're still watching. But back to it. New Justice League is formed. Yes, that is happening. That is 100% happening. There will be a new league formed when all is said and done with the Flash movie. It's plain and simple, just like that. So get ready for that. Keaton will be working with Black Canary, picks Batgirl as new Batman. Now, this one's interesting because I haven't heard about Black Canary being in the Flash movie, nor have I heard that Batgirl was in the Flash movie. Not saying that that's not something that they could have added in after the fact, but from what I've heard over the last few months, I haven't heard their names pop up. I've heard some crazy, crazy names pop up for this movie. Those are two that I haven't heard. We know and have heard that Michael Keaton is going to be in Batgirl, in the Batgirl movie. So I guess it kind of makes sense maybe if there's some kind of post-credit scene or mid-credit scene or even a small cameo from Leslie Grace's Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, in Flash to help set up the future in the Batgirl film, that would make perfect sense. Black Canary being in it, that's a little odd, I guess. Not saying that Black Canary has been a hero in the comics and in cartoons and such and so on and so forth. And I'm a big fan of this Black Canary, this version of Black Canary. I loved her in Birds of Prey. So I'm looking forward for more from her. I just think it's kind of weird that it's going to be a weird thing seeing her and Keaton side by side. That's what's going to be weird. But I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see how it all looks and how it plays out, because a lot of the weirdness when it comes to Keaton is going to be because we remember what Keaton was back in 1989 and 1992. So we didn't get to see more than that. We didn't see many other characters next to him. We will now. So that's what's going to be interesting. This is the new DC. Let's be open-minded and give it a fair shot. I may get flack for this, but flack, I gotta say, I agree with her. I put up a poll on Twitter today. I hope you all go over and take a chance and vote on it. But I put a poll up. If the DCEU were to reboot the entire DCEU, okay? But with that reboot, off to the side, we will get 3 to 4 more projects in the Snyderverse as well. Would you be excited for both of those things? Yes or no? Let's see. Hunter Iggy says, have you heard that Mikey Sutton said that David Zaslav said when he takes control of Discovery and WB, he wants Zack Snyderverse to be the main DCEU? That I have not heard. And honestly, I do, on occasion, I do check out Sil Abdul's channel with Mikey Sutton. I will check that out on occasion. And I don't even remember him saying that exactly. From what I understand from what Mikey has stated. And I give him a lot of credit because he has been right on quite a few occasions here over the last year or so on a lot of different things. More so on the Marvel side. It's yet to be seen on the DC side. But with the Marvel side, he's usually pretty spot on. But what's interesting is, yes, Zaslav is all about restoring the Snyderverse. That is something I've heard outside of what Mikey Sutton has said. But here's the thing. He realizes that exactly what Warner Brothers realizes right now. The Snyderverse is not the type of universe that can explode and expand how Warner Brothers wants to right now. Warner Brothers is chasing Marvel, which I think is a terrible thing. Personally, I don't think they should be chasing Marvel, but that's what they're doing. And that's essentially what this Flash movie is going to do, is it's going to give them a leg, kind of not a leg up, but it's going to get them in the right lane, in the right direction to follow Marvel in a way. Snyderverse would not do that. And I am a huge supporter of restoring the Snyderverse. I'm a huge fan of what Zack Snyder has done. Man of Steel was my favorite comic book movie ever. It's a masterpiece in my mind. So for me to say that, you need to realize that I want the Snyderverse to continue. But I understand that if we want a larger DC universe, they're going to have to go in a different direction than what Snyder was going. What that direction is, well, we're starting to see it play out here a little bit. And if you don't like it, it's all subjective. You don't have to like it. I'm excited to see where it goes, though. I want to see what it does, where it goes, how it evolves. That's what I want to see. So we had Grace talking about that. We have this as well, which the culture nerd, the same day, to add injury to insult, the recent leaks for The Flash seem to be real. Warner Brothers is hell-bent on beating down the fans to the point of apathy, and so they can erase the Snyderverse and replace it with the multiverse and expect us to accept it. I say restore the Snyderverse. Now, whether that whole idea of them trying to squash the Snyderverse is true or not, that's something that's been going back and forth for quite some time. I do believe that they're trying to forget about the Snyderverse, because why would they? Again, why? They're trying to build up a certain continuity, a certain timeline. To continuously go back to the Snyderverse is kind of, it's not in their best interest to push forward over here and then have this over here. But that's from a business side. All right, Hunter, what if the Justice Ladies movie bomb? Are you talking about how they're saying that Wonder Woman, Batgirl, and Supergirl are going to be the new Justice League members, or Trinity of the Justice League? Well, here's the thing. The Flash movie, I can tell you right now, the Flash movie's success or failure will have no bearing on whether the Snyderverse is restored or not. Zaslav is interested in working with Snyder. He's interested in working with Snyder. He sees the potential and the benefit of working with a filmmaker of his caliber with a vision like he has. That's important to realize. But Zaslav, when he comes in, he's going to have some interesting things that he has to take care of, because when he comes in, he's going to have to sit back and see what the future of the DCEU is. And this is all stuff that's been in motion for a number of years at this point. Let's not joke ourselves here. In 2017, when Justice League came out, it was essentially a disgrace and a failure. When that came out, they had to go on like an emergency, like I don't know, like they had to find something. They had to figure out what they're going to do, because it didn't go the way they wanted to. Yeah, they had Shazam in the works already. They had Aquaman already being made. Those were movies that were already made or on the shelf waiting to be released. But after that, they started adjusting and planning out and plotting out years to come. Movies such as The Flash continuously had rewrites and new filmmakers brought in and so on and so forth, because they were trying to figure out and plan the future of the DCEU. It has taken them 5 years to get to this point. 5 years to get to this point. That's insane. So to think that when Zaslav comes in, he's going to be able to just pull the plug on everything, and all these plans and things that are in motion right now will cease, that's not going to be the case, because they're going to want to make money. They're still going to be releasing things to make money. So it's going to be a process from the main DCU timeline. He's not going to be able to come in and just say, well, let's slide the Snyderverse in there. That's now the main DCU, because that's just going to cause more confusion. When he comes in, whether the Flash is successful or not, he can greenlight the Snyderverse, because that is going to be an Elseworlds or a separate universe story arc. Whereas the main DCU timeline may need some work if things fail. And I honestly have stated quite a few times that I would not be surprised if Flash is a huge failure, and then you have Black Adam, then you have Shazam 2, you have Aquaman 2. These are all movies that are either done being filmed in post-production or just about to be finished. Those movies are coming out. So they're all going to be connected in some form or fashion over the next 2 or 3 years. You can't just, nope, we're not going to release them. They're going to release them. And then it's going to be, well, what do? Do they reboot at that point in time, the main DCU continuity? And in my opinion, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea if one or multiple of those films are complete failures, specifically The Flash. But again, none of that will have any bearing on the Snyderverse being restored, because as Zack Snyder himself said, his story is an Elseworld story at this point. And moving forward, if it's restored, it will be an Elseworld story. So where's the hope? Where's the hope coming from? Where's all this hope that I'm talking about when it comes to restoring the Snyderverse? Well, that's a big thing, because a lot of people want to sit there and talk about this and talk about the culture nerd, confirming that. But then you have Clay Staub, who is a unit director and has worked with Zack Snyder. But you should never leave until the lights come up. Restore the Snyderverse. Part 7. It ain't over till it's over. We got that. And if you ask me, when you have somebody from production, somebody who has worked directly with Zack Snyder, giving us hope, telling us it's not over till it's over, well, that's telling me and saying, look, there's still hope. There's still hope for the Snyderverse to be restored. What do I say all the time? Stay passionate, stay excited, stay united. Those 3 things. Stay passionate, stay excited, stay united. Don't allow your anger for Warner Brothers to get you mad. Don't allow toxicity to overtake you, because that is not a good look for the fandom. And then you have Zack Snyder, who just a few days before was asked, this is a very important question, is this time to lose hope? And he says never. Never. As you see, there's reason to be excited still that the Snyderverse will be restored. In what capacity? Again, I'm still not sure what capacity. I'm hoping it's live action on HBO Max coming 2024, 2023, 2025, what have you. That's my hope. But I'm not saying that's definitely what's going to happen. But Clay Staub and Zack Snyder are telling us there's hope. But then Ezra Miller responded to all of this about the Flash leaks. He's asked, fans are going crazy thinking the movie's erasing Zack's movies. They don't see the potential this movie will bring. Because this person, they know that the Flash movie has a lot of potential, which is why I am so excited for this movie, because I think it's going to be just batshit crazy. This is going to be a bonkers film. From what I've heard, it's going to be completely bonkers. Completely bonkers. No power or force, and this is Ezra talking here. No power or force in any known megaverse would or could ever erase Zack's mighty works. You can take that quote, take that to the bank, to the press, to the schools, to the military, and the other pillar of capitalism I'm forgetting because of that thing where if you try to think of a group of things, you always forget one of them. Even Ezra is saying, no. Hunter, have you heard that David Zaslav asked Jim Lee what DCEU character would like to see in the DCEU, Grifter, and other characters? No. No, I haven't heard anything there. But getting back to what Ezra is saying, let me point this out. No power or force in any known megaverse would or could ever erase Zack Snyder's mighty works. Think on that for a second. Just think on that for a second. I'm serious. Just think. I'm going to pull this up here. I've had something similar to this in the past. This here is what I'd like to call the DCEU multiverse as of right now. Now, up at the top, I have the Batman. We know there's going to be multiple projects from there. You got Batman. You got the Penguin series on HBO Max, Gotham PD, possibly Batman 2 and 3. That's all done by Matt Reeves. That is all part of his universe up in that little top part there. In the middle, don't even look at the bottom stuff. You got Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Aquaman, Shazam, Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 84, The Suicide Squad, Black Adam, and The Flash. And then branched off down at the bottom, you have what I call the Snyderverse, which you have Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and then it would branch off David Ayer's Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and anything else that Zack Snyder would be directly executive producer or directing on for the Snyderverse. So that is what that's looking like. So when Ezra Miller says no power of force in any known megaverse would or could ever erase Zack Snyder's mighty works, that's what he's talking about. Regardless of what happens in the Flash movie, everything that came before, those works of art, those movies are there, whether it's part of the Snyderverse or whether the main DCEU timeline. And where everything gets a little fishy is when you take a look at the Flash movie here, you see it branches off at the Flash movie and it kind of goes backwards and forwards. And the reason why it goes backwards and forwards is because there will be changes made to the films that came before, such as the potential of General Zod and Faora surviving the events of Man of Steel, to Batman and Superman not having the fight that they had in Batman vs. Superman, to possibly Steve Trevor not dying in Wonder Woman. Things like that are possibilities and rumors that we've heard that could potentially pop up in the Flash movie, thus creating a new timeline. And while, yes, I understand people don't like that idea because it changes what Zack was doing. And I understand that because it's scary. It is scary. But Barbara Muschietti said something very interesting just a couple years ago as they were preparing the Flash movie or they were in the midst of filming the Flash. She goes, "The Flash will restart everything without forgetting anything." The Flash will restart everything without forgetting anything. Think about that for a second. Yes, there was a possibility that it's going to change some previous events, but it's not forgetting those events. Those events still have happened in some timeline. That is what the multiverse is. That is the beauty of the multiverse when it comes to DC. DC is known for doing things like this with their multiverse, having small little things change where sometimes it's just their costumes look different. Sometimes it's a different person is a superhero. Things like that happen in the comics. And we've discussed earlier in this episode why a change like Affleck leaving and Keaton coming in will happen from a business side, but it then makes sense from the story side because of the events that are going to take place in the Flash movie to have it happen. So why change the past events? I talked about this a little bit ago. Zack Snyder's vision when he was putting all this together, we're going to take a journey all the way back to 2012. 2012, Man of Steel. We have to remember when that was being made, Snyder did not technically write that film. That was David S. Goyer and Christopher Nolan. They weren't 100% sure if this was going to launch off a franchise or a universe. But when there was the success of Man of Steel in 2013, what happened? Well, Zack Snyder was asked to come back and do a sequel, which became Batman vs. Superman. But at that time, Zack Snyder sat down and he started planning out what this arc could be. From Man of Steel all the way to the end of his arc, which, spoiler warning, the end of his arc was Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne dying, them jumping into the future, 20 or so years into the future after that, and the son of Bruce Wayne and Lois Lane becoming Batman. Not saying that's how it's going to finish now when it's restored, but he had a specific vision for a universe, for a very secluded universe. I shouldn't say very secluded. Yeah, because he was willing to branch off, have Aquaman, have Flash movies, have Wonder Woman movies, have Cyborg film, do that. And those all would have fit within the continuity of his story arc, which eventually would have ended here, and everything would have tied up nicely. But Warner Brothers wants to utilize and capitalize on the DC name and characters. And the only way to do that successfully, is to give the opportunity for all of these characters to have a world to live in long term. Snyder's vision was not long term. Snyder's vision was 5 films. That was his vision. Everything else around that, Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, all that other stuff that he worked with Jeff Johns and some other people in 2015, 2016, and all that, that was all afterthought. That was not his main vision. So what we're getting now is Warner Brothers saying, look, we need to give these characters a world to live, to breathe, to fully explore. And Snyder's vision, his arc, would not allow that to happen. Again, the Snyderverse was not originally intended to be as large as the MCU. It just wasn't. I wish it was, but it wasn't. And in a way, I was okay with that because I didn't want it to be like Marvel. I didn't want Marvel, the MCU, way of doing things in DC. I didn't want that. And maybe you did. But for me, I didn't want that. So I was okay with that. I was perfectly fine with them not going the MCU route. But what does that all mean for what's going on right now? What does it all mean? Because for me, there's no reason that people should be this upset about the Flash movie. I get wanting to be upset that the Snyderverse is yet to be restored. And that's why I asked that. I put that poll up on Twitter. Let's see if I can pull it up here real quick and see what we're at. Let's see here. There we go. So right now, if the DCEU was rebooted and you still got the Snyderverse restored as a 4-project Elseworlds timeline, would you be excited for both? So far, this has only been up a few hours. I put it up around 3 o'clock. Yes, 74% yes, 25% no, out of 55 votes so far. What that tells me is that this whole idea about people being mad about the Flash movie isn't because the Flash movie is doing something different. Isn't because Sasha Calle is going to be Supergirl and the main superhero or Superman hero in the universe. It's not because Leslie Grace is going to be the Bat figure in the universe. That's not why people are mad. They're mad because the Snyderverse has not been restored at this point in time. And I think that's unfair to the Muschiettis. I think that's unfair to Ezra Miller. Do what you want. I'm never going to tell you not to follow what you want to do. If you want to boycott the Flash movie, if you want to boycott Warner Brothers, do what you want to do. But when it comes to the Flash movie, I don't think it's fair to not even give it a chance because you're upset that the Snyderverse is not restored. Because when you think about it logically, when you take a look at all of the avenues and aspects and points that I just talked about here, when it comes down to it, they're doing what they have to do because it's the best way for them to build a larger universe. The Henry Cavill stuff is one thing. It's hard to figure out what's going on there. We don't have all the facts. But when it comes to Affleck, we know Affleck was offered the chance to do a Batfleck movie or series last summer, and he turned it down. He doesn't want to do it anymore unless Snyder is attached. So they had to replace him. They had to change the events of what came before is to essentially reboot, as I just said here, and what I'm asking in this poll. It's essentially rebooting, reestablishing the DCEU moving forward. And let me let you in on a little secret. Things are looking good on the Snyderverse being restored. So this question here, this poll, if you vote yes on this, there's no reason not to be excited for the Flash movie. Because that's one half of what I asked here. The other half, I believe, is coming. Truly believe it's coming. I want to hear what you guys think. I want to know your thoughts down in the comments. I want to know what you're all thinking, what you all believe is happening right now, because I'm telling you, this movie's gonna be bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. From what I've heard, the names and things that I've heard that could potentially be popping up in this film are absolutely crazy and bonkers. I can't wait to see. I'm more interested in seeing people's reaction to some of this stuff, and I hope that people go and see this film, because again, the Muschietis were supportive of Snyder. They allowed Affleck to change certain things in the script. They adjusted the script due to the success of the Snyder Cut. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you guys are thinking, what your thoughts are, all of that, because honestly, all of this it's a lot better than what a lot of people are making it out to be right now. It's not as bad as you think. You know, if you believe Grace Randolph here, you got the culture nerds saying the same thing. And here's the thing about the two of them. The reason why I picked those two, obviously Grace Randolph was the one that kind of set everything in motion this weekend. But I picked the culture nerd who is basically saying what Grace Randolph is saying is true, is because you have these people who are either fans of Grace Randolph or fans of the culture nerd. And they're both saying that these leaks and rumors are true. And I think it's time to sit back. And I get it. You want the Snyderverse restored. I want the Snyderverse restored. I do. I want it so badly to be restored. You know, my buddy Dawson over at the Four Nerds Network, you know, he is one of the most passionate YouTubers out there. He loves the Snyderverse as much as me, if not more. And he is so upset about the Flash movie and what is becoming of the Flash movie right now. And I kind of get it. I kind of understand why he's so upset. But here's the thing. I think because of his passion, I think he's allowed himself to get blinded by that hatred or that anger towards Warner Brothers that so many in the fandom have allowed to take over the fandom. I get it. Some of those people that work at Warner Brothers are complete scum. I completely get it. I do. But to sit there and judge this movie before it's even out, to basically boycott a film of a filmmaker who is excited. You know, the Muschietis want this movie to succeed. They're excited. They want us to see it. Ezra Miller wants us to see it. He's excited about it. It's a disservice to them. It really is. And I don't like that. I don't like being that negative. I don't like being that pessimistic about things, because I feel that negativity towards that movie just builds and leads to further toxicity within the fandom. And I don't want Ant Sarnoff to be right about us. I don't want Ant Sarnoff's comments on saying that there's this toxicity within the fandom, which is why they did not restore the Snyderverse or release David Ayer Suicide Squad. I don't want that to be true. Stay passionate, stay excited, stay united. That is what I preach and push all the time, because that is what is going to come out victorious in the end. boycotting Warner Brothers. Again, the financial failure or success of the Flash movie has no bearing on this restoration of the Snyderverse. I've said this for the last year or more because it's true. If the Flash fails, they have 3, 4, 5 more movies: Batgirl, Blue Beetle, Shazam 2, Aquaman, Blackout. All these movies are already in the works. If the Flash fails, they're not going to just say, well, we're going back to the Snyderverse being the main continuity, because what is already in the works does not fit within that mold. So the Snyderverse being restored means it will be separate from the main continuity. If anything, if the Flash movie just completely bombs, we're looking at a complete overhaul and reboot of the DCEU. But I don't even think that'll happen. I think they'll just sit back, recast things here or there, bring in Wally West as opposed to having Barry Allen, bring Affleck back if they can for another cameo. They'll do what they can to weave in and make it fit so people get excited again. But I'm telling you that it's not going to be the Snyderverse being the main continuity, because it's not built to be the main continuity. It never was. It never was. Let me know your thoughts and comments in the comments below, in the comment section below. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, all that jazz. I know that this is a little bit of a shorter episode, but I wanted to just talk about this. I wanted to really dive into the whole issue right now with the DCEU. And I think that I was able to really explain everything as best as I could. And I hope that those of you who watch or listen understand now what is going on. I'm all for supporting each other, fighting the good fight to restore the Snyderverse. But I'm not about sitting there and just criticizing a movie before we see it. I'm not about sitting there saying that what they're doing is completely wrong when that anger, that hatred, that negativity has no bearing on what happens with what we're fighting for. It just doesn't. But again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. With all that said, I will be talking to you next week. I plan on, as long as nothing crazy like this happens over the next week episode, I do plan on talking about my anticipated movies of 2022, talking about all the comic book films and everything coming out in 2022, as well as a review on The Matrix Resurrection, or at least a reaction to that film. So definitely make sure you check out or come back next week, next Monday, for more from me, Bridging the Geekdoms. Make sure you head to Spoilerverse.com. Find us on all the podcatching apps and all that jazz. With all that said, guys, I will talk at all of you later.